Okay, good afternoon and welcome everyone to today's general membership meeting for PAYCO. Today is Tuesday, November the 14th. We're glad to have you with us. We will start off with some announcements, not many. Let's see. Coming up on Thursday, November the 30th, Judge Mackey from the Franklin County Probate Court will be joining us to give us an update on the probate court process and the inner workings of the probate court, including jurisdictional information, COVID and post-COVID processes, what the court is doing to adapt to those challenges and changes. Consultations with magistrates and a lot more. Registration's open. Just go to the website, to the events tab, and click on the calendar for that. Let's see. I expect to have more information very soon on the book club. I know the book that they've chosen is Atomic Habits by James Clear. They are in the process of scheduling the next meeting. More information will come with that. If you have questions, you can contact Randy Daniels Blair and Liz Kemmerer for questions. And we will save that for part of the presentation. I know that Teresa, last week we had the pro bono Wills Clinic CLE with the Legal Aid Society that was well attended. And I know that you do have a sign-up sheet for Wills Clinics for 2024. Would you like to share an update on that?
Only that I've been so doggone busy that I haven't had time to come up for air, but I will be sending an email individually to each of you who already signed up for clinics to volunteer at clinics next year to confirm the dates that you indicated on the sign-up sheet. If you did not attend the COE and are interested in viewing it and also volunteering next year, please shoot me an email if you haven't done so already. The event was recorded, and as soon as Legal Aid provides the link to me, I can provide that to you. You can view it, and then I can provide you the list of dates and locations where we will be going. I will tell you that at present, I have 7 Wills clinics scheduled. 2 or 1 in each of the months of January through May, 2 in June. That's as far as I went for starters. And all but 1 of them are in Franklin County. So they're all pretty close. We're not going all over the central Ohio area this time. The service coordinators who responded to me are all ones pretty close to downtown, or at least in Franklin County. They're not in Delaware or Madison or Licking. We do have 1 on a Saturday in June in Fairfield County in Lancaster. But other than that, the rest of them are closer to home. So send me an email if you have questions. That's probono.columbus@gmail.com. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks, Teresa. We also want to welcome some folks and thank some folks. We want to thank Philip from Anderson Reporting for being here today and providing the link for today's session and recording that for us. We want to welcome Andy Greger from Trust Point One. Always good to have one of our sustaining members with us. And Lori did share, you may have seen in the chat, a reminder that on the 30th for the Legal Insight session, Dean Borger will be joining us to speak with us briefly regarding his company and his services before we get started with Judge Mackey. And I see that we have a new member with us today. Welcome, Jessica Mowry. I think this is your first event. We're very glad to have you with us.
It is. Thank you.
Thanks. We're glad you joined us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jessica was one of our student spotlights, our very first one.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Well, congratulations on that and welcome aboard. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Samantha and I want to just give you some information today regarding the NFPA, the National Federation of Paralegal Associations. We are a local association. We are members of the NFPA. So that means you are as well. Automatically with your membership, you are a member of the NFPA. There is nothing that you have to do to trigger that to happen. Once you are signed up as a member, and every time you renew your membership, that will be renewed as well. NFPA, as a member of NFPA, you are very much welcome and very much encouraged to participate in the NFPA as much as you'd like. You can attend all of their events. You can attend their CLEs. You can attend their national convention, joint conference in the spring. Samantha and I are PACO's representatives to the NFPA. I am the primary representative, and Samantha is the secondary representative. So we wanted to update you on what is going on with the NFPA because we are newly back from convention in October, and we've come back with a lot of good information and excitement to bring to PACO and our members. Convention this year, NFPA hosts a national convention every year, and it is typically they're spaced around the country. In the past there has been a host association. For instance, if it was in Columbus, PACO would be the host association and would be very much involved with the planning and execution of convention. This year, the host association was the National Capital Area Paralegal Association. I'm sorry, I can't speak today. And they did a fantastic job of planning and facilitating convention. It was held in Washington, D.C., and Arlington, Virginia, actually. And it was a very well attended, very well run convention. This year convention was a little bit different. There have been concerns over the past several years that some of the smaller local associations could not afford to send their representative to convention. And one of the highlights, one of the important things that happened at convention was the annual policy meeting. And during that policy meeting, we adopt the budget for the coming year. We elect officers. We discuss and vote on different agenda topics that have been brought for consideration. And there was a feeling that those smaller associations were not able to fully participate because if they couldn't attend in person, they had no vote in that policy meeting. So this year, NFPA decided to take the annual policy meeting out of convention and to hold annual policy meeting remotely so that local associations across the country could attend at little to no cost. I think it was $25 for each association to attend. And that was held remotely so that all of the local associations would have the same ability to attend and participate and issue their votes for these particular matters. So this year of convention looked a little bit different. The focus was on CLEs. And as always, they offered 3 different tracks of CLEs. So there were 4 CLE sessions every day. And during each of those sessions, there were 3 different CLEs that were happening at that time. And you could just select which CLE was of interest to you and attend that particular CLE. What was interesting this year was that, and I really liked this, the CLEs, every time we paralegals outside of a CLE presented by PAYCO, it seems if we go to a CLE offered by the OSBA or the CBA or some of these other companies that offer CLEs, they're almost exclusively led by attorneys. That's fine. They know exactly, they are experts in their field. They know the subject matter and they do a wonderful job of leading these CLEs. This year, though, at convention, the CLEs were offered by attorneys, vendors, and also by paralegals. And I thought that was very well thought out. I really liked that in attending CLEs that were led by our colleagues and our equals and sharing their extensive knowledge in their subject area. Just to give you an idea, some of the CLEs that were offered, let's see, discovery of social media and legal proceedings. And other than the gentleman's name was Kevin, I cannot find my material, so I don't recall exactly which vendor he was with, but that was a CLE that was offered by one of the sponsors for the convention. There was also a CLE in that track on cybersecurity. Actually, I apologize. It was not the discovery in social media that was offered by the vendor. That would have been AI, ChatGPT, and Comment 8 to model rule 1.1 and kind of the ethics of AI. The next track was what paralegals in the Army JAG Corps do in comparison to civilian paralegals. There was also one titled Corporate Governance and Subsidiary Management and U.S. Case Law Research. There were CLEs, Immigration Matters, what Army JAG Corps paralegals need to be aware of, Project Management for Legal Professionals, Corporate Compliance, Effective Legal Writing for Paralegals, Recent Developments in Employment Law, Human Trafficking, which was offered by and led by personnel from Homeland Security. I thought that was really interesting. There was also CLEs on the topics of paralegal ethics, the unauthorized practice of law and best practices, time management and organization skills, why it's important for Army JAG Corps paralegals to be credentialed, recognizing and interrupting microaggressions, the responsibilities of a JAG Corps paralegal in litigation matters, and practice management, a paralegal's guide to understanding and opportunities. Now, you might have noticed that there were several of the CLEs that were geared specifically for toward the Army JAG Corps paralegals. What was also interesting, being in the nation's capital, there was a very large presence of paralegals from the JAG-ALP, military paralegals. And so they offered a lot of CLEs to specifically benefit them. And actually, some of the presenters were military brass from the Pentagon, I would assume. I'm not sure where they were stationed, but there was a very big military presence at the convention this year, which I thought was really interesting. Some of the CLEs that I attended were the cybersecurity, AI, ChatGPT, and Comment 8 to Model Rule 1.1. What I thought was interesting about that was that it was specifically targeted to the Model Rule 1.1 and the ethics portion of using cybersecurity and AI and ChatGPT. So that was really interesting to me. Excuse me. I also attended, let's see, U.S. Case Law Research. And that was an overview of recent case law across the US on a variety of different topics. That was really interesting. I also attended project management for legal professionals, which I thought was, I do litigation work. And if you look at the litigation process from a project management perspective and break it down into the different parts of litigation, discovery, motions, trial preparation, there's a lot of different moving parts that go with it. And if you break that all down and look at it from a project management perspective, looking at, how do you allocate time? How do you allocate resources for available in that case? That was really interesting. And I thought that was, I had a lot of really good information on how to approach a litigation matter through that perspective. I attended the updates in employment law. Which really gave me a lot of, there are some new employment laws, and they will impact the work that I do, specifically, and I don't recall the exact acronym. There's a new pregnancy leave law that has been inactive obviously for women who are expecting, and the various leave that they are eligible for and the requirements for those. So that was very interesting for me. Let's see. Oh, Samantha, what were some of your favorite CLEs?
I also went to the AI CLE, and I know we had one during a dinner as well. I thought that was very interesting, and I did want to note it's still in its development stages. So I like that they noted, hey, you have to be aware of putting any client information into the system, because right now they can't guarantee it's not going to get into the wrong hands. There was also, they talked about some, there was actually an employment, the EEOC filed their first case with AI. It was a discrimination case, and they showed us some pictures of what a paralegal, when they looked up a paralegal looked like a few years ago versus now. It's getting better, but for example, it had all white young ladies. And then now it has more diversity. It's usually women still that they say are paralegals, but at least there's more diversity now. It's not just white young paralegals. So there is some you got to be careful of, what it develops. You have to feed information into it, or they had to, and sometimes it gives you not accurate information. That's just an example for a picture one, but it's also you have to feed information into it. So there was a date, I think it was like September 2021 on one of the programs they showed us, that they stopped entering data. So if you asked anything about like who is president, well, I guess president would still be there, but if you asked something that happened in the last 2 years, it wouldn't know. So it was really interesting learning more about that, because I wasn't real familiar with the artificial intelligence programs.
Yeah, and that's a good point. With AI, if you've not heard much about it, it culls information from the internet, and it keeps track of the information that it uses. So if you enter confidential information about your client or their business or their lawsuit or anything like that, it will store that information. And from there, it's a free-for-all. That information is now out there online. You've just breached client confidentiality and given away perhaps their trade secrets or any number of different items. And also, with the EOC lawsuit, how that came about, there was a company that used a hiring
What was it?
the service to hire their staff, and the hiring company input different parameters for what they were looking for in their job candidates. And so it would take the applications, the resumes that it had that it had received, and it would search through that information for these specific parameters, and either include that applicant for to be interviewed, or exclude that candidate. And it came to be found out that one of the parameters they used was age, and they used a different age for women and for men. And so people started noticing that all of their candidates were, there were no men over a certain age, there were no women over a certain age, and it was different. And so they started asking questions and found that because of the parameters that were entered into this AI program, this application for screening applicants, it was inherently biased. And so the EEOC sued that company. There was no final decision that came out of it. It settled. And that is something that I'm asking my firm to have one of our attorneys look into in more detail and present to our internal employment group. I think that was very interesting. Was there anything else that you attended that you thought was really useful and interesting?
Looking at my notes real quick. I also went to that development and employment law, US case law research, time management or organization skills. And I went to, what was it? Practice management. The practice management one, if you're interested in practice management, it's a little bit, I don't know, from my understanding from what the person who presented it said, it was a little bit different than paralegal, but a lot of our core, like our core, what are they called, like due diligence and confidence and all that, it transfers over to that, so it's something good to look into.
Yeah.
And then the employment law, I know you were talking about the pregnancy. There's a couple of new laws they talked about. One's called the Pump Act, and one is called the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act regulations. And I thought those were interesting too. So if anyone's pregnant, going to be nursing their babies, might want to look into that. Make sure you get your rights are given to you. I know I enjoyed one of the workshops a lot too, but we haven't gotten to that yet.
Well, and the only reason that we are talking about the different CLEs that we attended was just to illustrate that not only were the CLEs presented by a wide range of people with different backgrounds, attorneys, paralegals, vendors, they also touched on a lot of topics that were relevant to, in Samantha and my case, we both do workers' compensation and employment law. So there were subject matter CLEs that were relevant to us. There were also CLEs on corporate governance and compliance issues, and then ethics topics and things that are general enough, more general as like time management. We all know that being a paralegal is a very time-intensive profession. We have a lot of responsibilities, a lot of things that are thrown on our shoulders, and being efficient and organized and keeping track of your time and managing your time are very important. So that is just, we wanted to illustrate that the CLEs offered, they offer a wide variety. So if you're ever thinking of going to convention, that is typical to have a wide range of CLEs that will be pertinent to you, perhaps your practice area or just your development in general as a paralegal. There were also, in addition to the CLEs, there were 9 workshops that were offered, and the workshops were geared toward local association management. Many of the primary representatives are also president of their local association. And even if they're not, there are a lot of people on the leadership team that attend convention. And so the NFPA wanted to offer workshops to help us develop as leaders and as leaders of our local associations, and to give us good information to bring back to our local associations, so that we can run our associations more efficiently, and improve upon what we're doing with our local associations. There were workshops that were offered on recruiting new board members, engaging new and existing members, helping your paralegal association thrive, the need for connecting and networking, developing a board succession plan, leveraging social media to grow your association. And there was also a workshop on study groups and scholarships, and helping credential seekers and attracting and retaining members and board leadership and lots of different topics. And what I really am happy to see is that they recognized that all of these topics are equally important to all of the local association leaders. And so even if you didn't sign up for or attend a workshop, if you attended convention, you can obtain the materials for every workshop and use that information to help benefit your local association. And you can be sure that, interestingly, at convention, we were very lucky, PACO, because in addition to myself and Samantha, there were 3 other PACO members that attended convention. Lori Najak, our project chair, or no, I'm sorry, not project, our programs chair, attended, and so did Patrice Givens and Randy Daniels Blair, who are both also on the board of PACO. And so I thought it was really good that PACO had the opportunity to have so many of its leaders there and attending a variety of these workshops, so that we could glean as much information as possible. And these topics, these leadership and association management topics, are things that the board is going to be discussing over the coming months, to see what information we can use to improve PACO and the services that we offer to our membership. Also during convention, we had a couple of different keynote speakers during the lunch hours, and they also issued their annual awards of excellence. There were 3 awards that were given this year. The Justice Champion Award was given to Sybil Taylor H. She is from the Rocky Mountain Paralegal Association. The William R. Roby Award was presented to Lynn Hamilton of the New Orleans Paralegal Association. And the Outstanding Local Leader Award was given to Tracy Barnes, who is from Montgomery County Paralegal Association in Pennsylvania. These awards are given annually, and each local association is able to nominate candidates for these awards. And there are specific criteria that have to be met, and you have to provide, written information as to why your candidate is qualified and should receive each of these awards. And then there is a screening committee that will select the winner of each category. Also offered at National Convention every year is there is a student scholarship that is offered, and that is open to any PACO member who is a paralegal student. There's usually an essay topic, and you write an essay and you fill out your application and send it in. And again, there is a committee that will review each of those topics and select the scholarship winners each year. This year, the scholarship winner was Hannah Rockwood, and I don't recall what association she was from. Also during convention, we have the NFPA is split into 5 different regions. And in PACO, here in Ohio, we are in Region 3. And maybe I'm biased, but I happen to think that the people in Region 3 are the best paralegals. They're wonderful, warm, and friendly people, and I always enjoy getting together with them to share information. So one morning was devoted to the region meetings. So we were able to share information with others in our region, which is made up of Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Now, there are not local associations from each of those states, but that is our geographic region. We did have members attending from Miami, from Indiana, from Cleveland, from Columbus, and also the JAG-ALP is assigned to Region 3. And so there were people from the JAG-ALP that were also in attendance. And it is usually just the basic information is shared to everyone in attendance. And then we always end up talking about, issues that our local associations are facing. And invariably, somebody else has faced that same situation before. And there's always suggestions and ideas of how things could be handled. So that's always good information. There also is a Friday night a social event that happens every convention. And it just depends on what city you're in and what the planning committee comes up with. This year, we took a couple of motor coaches around the city, and we had a guided tour. We had a tour guide for each of those buses, and we went around the city to different landmarks and monuments and learned about the history of Washington, D.C., and learned a little bit about these landmarks and monuments. It was a really very well run tour and a lot of good information. It was a lot of fun. So that wraps up our conversation about convention. The next thing that has happened recently, as I mentioned before, was the annual policy meeting. As I mentioned, the annual policy meeting was split off of convention and was held independently during the evening of November the 1st. It was scheduled for 2 evenings, but we concluded our business in 1 evening, and so the second evening was not necessary. During the annual policy meeting, there was only one agenda topic this year, and that agenda topic credentialed paralegals, whether you have a CRP or an RP through NFPA. There are different criteria of continuing legal education that you have to maintain in order to renew your credentials every 2 years. Currently, the requirement is that 2 of those hours must be either an ethics CLE or a DEI CLE. The agenda topic this year was to amend that requirement so that instead of either or, the requirement is that credentialed paralegals now must have 1 ethics CLE and 1 DEI CLE. every cycle for renewal. That agenda topic was adopted by the membership. It was voted on and adopted. And so now, as I said, 1 ethics and 1 DEI credit are both required. We also had a discussion about the proposed budget for 2024 for the NFPA. And prior to the annual policy meeting, there was a separate meeting that was held remotely just on the budget. And it was led by Kathy Curtis, our Director of Finance and Treasurer. And during that time, she addressed a lot of questions and concerns that members and delegates had regarding the budget, the proposed budget. She did provide a lot of information. And so during the policy meeting, we also had a discussion about the proposed budget, and that proposed budget was also adopted. Then the other major thing that happened at policy meeting was election of officers for the coming terms. This year, there were several positions that were open, and unfortunately, not all of those positions were filled. However, Kathy Curtis was elected to serve. She is currently serving the remainder of a term that was vacated when Lori Wagner became president-elect. So Kathy Curtis was elected to a full term as the Director of Finance and Treasurer. Crystal Morris was elected Director of Region 1. Jennifer Trombley was elected as Region Director for Region 5. Currently, there are open board positions, Director of Membership, Director of Marketing, and the Region 3 Director. Those positions are all open. And I know, we're in Region 3, and we do not currently have a Region Director, but Don Bristol from up in, I believe he is from Pennsylvania. He is one of the Region Directors as well, and he is filling in as our Region Director until such time as Region 3 elects a Region Director. As for Director of Marketing, and the Director of Membership position has been vacant for some time, and the other board members have been pitching in and handling those responsibilities as needed. With Director of Marketing, in order to raise revenue, increase revenue that is outside non-dues revenue for NFPA, they have been working, emphasizing marketing quite a lot. And we had the Director of Marketing that we had, a newcomer from Pennsylvania, was doing a wonderful job. Unfortunately, she is not able to continue in that position due to different personal and professional responsibilities. So she has stepped down. In the interim, Lisa Lynch is our immediate past president. Lisa is going to be working with Josie Estes, our current president, and Lori Wagner, our current president-elect, and the three of them will be tackling marketing issues and really focusing on that. Also, there are lots of committees in NFPA, and the various committees have, obviously they have committee chairs. There are different committees that have coordinators, and each of these committees work on different things. And there is always a great need for people to step up to volunteer to serve on these committees. Unfortunately, I do not currently have a list of committees and committees that are looking for people to volunteer. I expect to obtain that information this evening during the NFPA's board meeting or soon after. And when that information is available, I will certainly share that to our membership. As I said before, you are a member of the NFPA and you are qualified and encouraged to participate and to serve on these various committees and to become involved. So when I have information, we will certainly bring that information to you, and you can take a look if there's something that you would like to, this sounds interesting, that piques your interest, something you'd like to become involved with, we can certainly help you to get signed up to help on these committees. Really, that is all I have other than upcoming events. Samantha, have I missed anything, or is there anything you'd like to add?
I'd like to add one thing. I just wanted to bring up that I'm not sure if everyone here is aware, but some states are allowing paralegals to get licensed or non-attorneys to get licensed. And that was discussed some as well at the convention. And Oregon's the most recent state to allow paralegal licensure, and they're now taking applications for that. And if that's something we want to do in Ohio, the national organization will send us a letter of support. So it's really good to have that too, know that they would support us and send a letter if Ohio wanted to go towards licensing paralegals as well. So that was nice.
Right. And Ohio is exploring, the paralegals in Ohio are exploring the possibility of moving toward paralegal licensure. I know we've touched on that subject quite a lot over the last year. There is a working committee that is looking into that and how we get started and the best way to go about trying to, because there are so many moving parts that have to happen to make paralegal licensure happen. I couldn't even begin to changes in the legislation, changes in the law, changes in legal malpractice insurance, changes in attitudes with the attorneys and the bar, and there's a lot that's involved, but we are exploring that. And it will be crucial to have NFPA's support as we move forward with that, and also the ability to look to some of the states that have already, who have come before us, and to share their expertise and their information. Washington, Oregon, Minneapolis, or Minnesota rather. New York is in the process of paralegal licensure. South Carolina, Utah, California is their own thing. They're completely Arizona. So there are a number of states who have come before us, and it will be good to have their assistance as need be. Okay, so some upcoming events for the NFPA. There is information in the PACO News, and it was in there last week, and I will continue it this week. And it's also on the news page for under PACO's website. The NFPA is offering a 2-part CLE. It's about estate planning and probate matters. It is led by Don Bristol from Chester County, Pennsylvania, and Angela Gonzalez out of Wisconsin. The first part of the CLE is this Thursday, I believe it is, November the 16th at 1:00 Eastern time. It is free, from what I understand. And if you go to the NFPA website, you can sign up for that to participate remotely in that. Part 2 is on December 21st, also at 1:00. Part 1 is titled Tales from the Crypt. Wait, what happened? And part 2 is called The Only Things We Can Rely On Are Death and Taxes. So if you have an interest in probate and estate matters, I think that sounds like a really interesting CLE session. As I mentioned before, this evening is the NFPA's monthly board meeting, and Samantha and I will be attending that remotely, of course. Joint conference will be held in the spring. There is no date for that, and it will also be conducted remotely. And we will bring more information to you on that as it becomes available. Annual convention in 2024 is being held in Portland, Oregon, September 26th through the 29th. Convention in 2025 will be held in St. Louis, and 2026 convention will be in Atlanta. Another important part of what Samantha and I do is Samantha is our statewide representative, and she has been coordinating and communicating with the other paralegal associations in Ohio on our second annual statewide food drive. And Samantha, I'm going to let you handle this one because I really don't know much about the plans you've made so far.
So I've been talking with the Paralegal Association of Cleveland and Cincinnati. They're on board, and along with our organization, to do a statewide food drive. And we want it to be kind of like a friendly competition a little bit that benefits each of our local food banks. So we have one that we're gonna pick, and then Cincinnati and Cleveland are gonna pick one. And I actually heard back from Molly yesterday from the Paralegal Association Northwest Ohio. She can't attend the next meeting, so we're trying to get there's only one more organization. We're trying to get them on board, and I'm not sure if she's on board yet or not, but we're hoping to get her on board too. And then what we're going to do is in January or February put out boxes, and I'll need help. So if the members, and if you're a member or on the board or leadership team, I would really appreciate your help, because we're gonna need to get boxes in law firms or offices and try to help collect as much food as possible. There should also be, there's a plan to put something on there so you could donate as well, or the law firm can donate. And we're just trying to, beat Cleveland and Cincinnati in the Northwest region. We want to be the best, so and we want to benefit our food bank and help people near us. So we've had 2 meetings so far. The next one's scheduled for December 6th, but we might move that one because 2 people can't attend so far. The person from the north west area we're trying to get to join says she can't attend that day either. So I'm really excited about that, and if anyone would be interested in helping, please think about it. Or if you have a good location to put a food box, let me know. That's about all I got to say on that, but I'm looking forward to getting that going.
Okay. Yeah, it was a really successful food drive last year. We raised just under $4,000. And the way it worked was that we provided a link, and by clicking on that link, you would be routed directly to the Mid-Ohio Food Bank, and your donation would go directly to them. They provided your receipt for tax purposes, and so money didn't have to change hands more than once. It went directly to where directly to the source, and they are able to leverage their financial donations. And I don't recall the exact number, but I think through partnerships with other associations and vendors, they're able to leverage every $1 of donations to provide $5.72, I think, worth of food for their the people that they serve. And the Mid-Ohio Food Bank serves, I don't recall the numbers, a very large number of people in, I think, 26 different counties in the Central Ohio area. So that is always important, good work. And we also collected quite a lot of non-perishable food as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how we can improve on that this year. Okay, so that is about all I have. So we will go ahead and wrap up, give you about 10 minutes of your lunch hour back. And Andy, it was good to have you with us again. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see you in DC. I don't know where your smiling face was, but I know Gary, why can I not think of his last name?
Gary Platten
Yes, Gary Platten.
and Marin Fitzsimmons, I think we're there.
Mhm. Yes, there were several people from Trust Point One exhibiting and sponsoring the convention. It was great to see somebody from Ohio, a friendly face.
Yes.
Always good to see our vendors supporting us.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, with that, we will go ahead and conclude today's meeting. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for being here. Thank you again to Anderson Reporting, and have a great rest of your day. Okay. All right. Thank you, Philip. I appreciate it.